I don't want to be like everybody else and start my TEDx talk with anecdote. However, I'm definitely going to be that guy. About 2 years ago, I was learning to drive for my first time. I was driving with my mom and sometimes my dad. And one day, my dad suggested that we go 15 minutes down the road and get some Wawa. I said, okay, fine by me. And we got in the car. He wanted me to drive. But at this point in my driving career, I had never backed out of a driveway before. And honestly, I was a little scared to do so. When I was pulling out of the driveway, my dad told me to hit the brakes and put the car into drive. And I panicked. I hit the gas instead of the brakes. I ended up hitting a street lamp and breaking the car, so the axle to turn was stuck only going in one direction. And then I sat locked in my room for about 3 hours, pretending like I didn't exist. My dad managed to fix the car and eventually calm me down. But I was still really sorry about the situation because I couldn't pay for it. I was broke, still am. And I didn't know how to change. I didn't know what mistake I made. And then I realized that I just needed to fix whatever I could and then apologize the rest of the way because that's all I needed to do. So I apologized. And eventually, when I was ready, my parents told me that these things happen. And I tried again. And now I drive everywhere. I've driven to this TEDx event, and I plan to drive home from this TEDx event. Because that second chance provided me the means, what I need to mature and grow as a person. And they're really beneficial. They've benefited me in countless ways. And they've benefited other people in countless ways. Take Albert Einstein, for example, the father of the theory of relativity. He didn't speak until he was 4 years old and didn't read until he was 7 years old. Despite these facts, his friends, family, and everybody else decided to keep on giving him second chances. And eventually, he was refused from Zurich Polytechnic School. Then he went on to win the Nobel Prize and change modern physics. All because the people around him gave him second chances and felt empathy for him. Empathy, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the thoughts, feelings, or experience of another person, which is a lot. So essentially, it's our ability to connect to other people. But there's a lot of science floating around the idea of empathy. And there's a research article called The Science of Empathy, really original, I know, that really emphasized this point. They state that empathy is a neurological trait which allows other people to connect to other people. So they also analyzed that empathy comes from the idea of imitation. Imitation is, of course, just mimicking another person's actions. So this is just the idea that when a person surrounds themselves with other people, they imitate them, which eventually develops into a connection, which eventually develops into a sense of empathy, which is a lot. And that sense of imitation causes different people to connect with other people and eventually form bonds. There's a lot behind the science of empathy, and it even goes as far as animals. Different animals, such as chimpanzees, share laughter contagion with other species, according to Monkey See, Monkey Do, Monkey Connect by Frans de Waal. These different species share a sense of imitation across different species, which eventually can develop into empathy. If someone were to start laughing, it would spread across species, even to the chimpanzees. And the same thing goes for someone who yawns. If someone yawns, it spreads across the entire room. And if I were to start talking about yawning even more, I'm pretty sure I would start yawning too. So I'm going to move on from that. If everyone had a good sense of empathy, I think the world would be a lot of a better place. It would allow the rich, the poor, the politician, the construction worker, everybody to connect. And if everyone was able to connect, then we'd be able to understand and solve more problems more efficiently. This idea of empathy is such an important day-to-day life and life improvement. And what we need to do is implement it more and more often. There's the golden rule that treat others the way you want to be treated, but not a lot of people follow this rule. Some people completely ignore it. I think that we need to follow this rule as people, and this will allow us to develop as a society. And if people were more empathetic, then second chances would be given more often. A second chance is very self-explanatory, but even so, it's defined as another opportunity to do something by the Cambridge Dictionary. The Cambridge Dictionary also states that it should not be given often, because second chances are very nuanced. There's the corrective emotional experience, which basically describes a second chance in even more detail, specifically stating that a when a person is going through a second chance, they're able to face what has either been suppressed, repressed, or oppressed. Essentially, a person faces their original traumas and through their mental state, and then try and reframe the meaning of that experience. So eventually, they've developed an understanding of it. That was quite a lot. So basically, a second chance or the corrective emotional experience, they're kind of interchangeable, is when a person is revising a previous experience, thinking about it, reframing it, and then finding a correction to the mistake they made. For me, when I was driving that car, I figured out never touch the gas when you're backing out of a driveway. And then there's a lot of power behind second chances, and that's explored a lot. Even the government recognizes this, making the Clean Slate Initiative. The Clean Slate Initiative essentially implements laws so that people ex-convicts who have committed previous crimes and have gone through their entire record without committing any other crimes and released from prison and all that jazz, and they're good workers and people, their records are completely cleaned. So when these records are wiped, it's essentially meaning that they have the opportunity to mature and grow without the fear of being looked down upon because they're an ex-convict. Because having a criminal record can affect different things such as job positions and role requirements. And there's lots of projects similar to the Clean Slate Initiative. One is the Prison Journalism Project. The Prison Journalism Project essentially trains incarcerated writers to be journalists and publish their stories from prison. They reveal that nearly 90% of people are released back into prison after committing a crime. And these people, after committing a crime, are often not to show actions or behaviors that allude to committing a crime. While some convicts eventually do make their way back into prison, the most of them don't after personally growing. The Prison Journalism Project acts to give these prisoners a second chance, allowing them to mature, grow, and develop as a person after growing from their experiences. So essentially, when a second chance is given, then it's a new opportunity for them to do something. And there's a handful of times when second chances shouldn't be given. You know, there's death row convicts, there's murderers, there's all these different people who aren't great. And that is fine. You just need to acknowledge the fact that a lot of people are imperfect, and the person bestowing a second chance could basically analyze what they've done and what impact they've had on your life to see if they're worthy of getting something as beneficial as a second chance. And I ask, if you're going to take anything from this, try and give second chances more often. It doesn't matter who they are to. They could be in a completely different situation or a bad situation. Second chances provide people what they need to mature, learn, and grow. Mistakes are meant to be made. It's what makes us human. So when we develop empathy and give second chances, then we're able to develop as individuals and create a better society. Thank you.